He thinks his educated heirs, those family shares, will protect him, that will respect him. He moves in circles of friends who just pretend that they like him. He does the same to them, and when you put it all together, there's the model of a charmless man. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na na. Oh, hello there. Welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I am your host, aspiring author Jonathan Taylor. Today I'm going to be doing another book review, this time of a book that I actually have on hand. The Vintage Bookshop of Memories by Elizabeth Holland. I already reviewed its Christmas-themed sequel last year, link to that in the iCard above, and I will try to talk about that to a minimum because I want to keep this review as spoiler-free as possible. Suffice it to say, what I found out in this book makes the rating for its sequel be a little bit higher. It's still a free, but a high free. Think of it as a 7 out of 10 instead of a 6. That's the difference it makes. How about this book in and of itself? What is it about? Well, the main character is Prue Clement. I'm still not sure if that's how you pronounce her last name, but that's the pronunciation I'm going with, and I hope it's accurate. Who works as a valuer at an auction house. Her mother died when she was 4, and her grandmother died 20 years after that. She finds out that she inherited not just her grandmother's estate, which in practice means every piece of land, both for private and commercial use, in her native village of Ivy Hatch, but also all of the grudges and vendettas that her grandmother has brought upon herself. And when she learns just how deep this rabbit hole goes, she decides that she wants to make Ivy Hatch her new home. And the book basically deals with how she deals with the ways the other villagers react to her, and how she uncovers a lot of the mysteries that helped shape her own past. So, what does this book do particularly well? Well, I have to say the plot in and of itself is very interesting. As someone who could quite accurately be described as a neo-Marxist, the idea of the main character being reluctant nobility and having to fit the square peg of her more modern, more egalitarian views within the round hole of the traditionalism of this close-knit village community is really a story topic that I find particularly interesting and that I think holds a lot of promise. Though a lot of the promise doesn't really go into the that much. More on that later. It goes a lot more into the second aspect, which is how she deals with how she looks through the mystery of her past, and looks through all of the grudges and such that her grandmother left behind. It makes for a very interesting read, which at times can also be quite immersive. So yeah, this is the plot figured out. What about the characters? I have to say, Prue is as I said, the main character, and we spend most of our time in her head, following her thoughts and her reactions and how she deals with the challenges that are brought upon her. And Well, I don't necessarily agree with everything she does, nor do I find her particularly interesting. I have to say the ways she is written and ways she overcomes her challenges do in fact prove themselves to be interesting. The author also runs a mental health blog, and you can see a lot of that preoccupation and a lot of that interest coming into how Prue deals with all of her problems. So from that perspective, she is she ultimately, I would say, becomes at least interesting enough to follow. The standout, however, among all characters is definitely Elliot Harrington, the main love interest, who actually the sole love interest, who throughout the entire story really uh, comes across as charming and sensible and dedicated, even when Prue herself doesn't see him that way. I I think that is the point. I think the point is that she doesn't realize how well off she is. But I can't really say for sure. So I'm just gonna say that it might be the case. As for the other characters, well, most of the characters that do actually get some level of definition are the ones that are actually involved in the main mystery plot of the book, which revolves around uh, Prue's mother and the relationship her mother had with her father, and how that particular aspect of her family's history panned out. And I have to say, all of the characters there do in fact have some very interesting, very relatable, and very believable ways in which their stories have developed. Of the side characters, the standout, I have to say, is actually Prue's grandmother. Even though she died before the story even began, a lot of her shadow, a lot of her influence, is still reflected on the society of Ivy Hatch, and on how she formed it, how she, in a sense, developed it. It's it's it is quite interesting, and it is very much in a reversal to using in, in, to what she does very well in the Christmas theme sequel, where she characterizes a location. She uses location to give characterization to an actual person. So yeah, these are the things this story does well. What does it do? What doesn't it do so well? Well, I think I've already mentioned I have some issues with Prue. While the ways she deals with things are at times interesting, I don't think she herself is really as interesting or really as relatable to follow as I think Elizabeth herself hopes her to be. And I think and to me, the breaking point is when she actually finds out the reason why her grandmother has a lot of vendettas against her, and why a lot of people also correspondingly look towards her in a negative light. I won't say what it is, but I will say that I just think that particular decision of her grandmother really comes off as excessively petty, and yet somehow Prue thinks she is completely in the right, and that's not something I can agree with. Sorry, but it just isn't. Also, she is kind of a passive main character. Oh, don't get me wrong. When it comes to the actual to running the titular bookshop, she's actually very proactive. She is very involved in that particular part of the story, and in how she deals with it. But in the a part of the story that I found more engaging, i.e. the mystery of her background. I really think she is more. She really is more of a. She really is too much of a passive character. She doesn't really pursue clues as much as they just fall in her lap, and she just gets kind of strung along by the other characters in the story. And yeah, ultimately that really hurts the way I view her. The biggest problem with this book, however, is kind of similar to the problem its sequel has, and I promise this will be the last reference to the sequel. Namely, that it hints, namely the more interesting story is the one this book hints at without actually focusing on it. Namely, how Prue deals with the villagers themselves. What does she do that really brings a marked improvement in their lives and in their community? Villagers themselves are also described pretty binary. They either hate her or they love her, with some indifference thrown in here and there. But overall, only a few villagers actually get more definition, and I really missed that when I went through the book. I really missed the idea of her being more involved into in the average life of the community of Ivy Hatch, of her taking a more proactive role in the well-being of her tenants. The ideal form of this book is at least 10 times as big as it is, with like 2,000 pages instead of just 200, and it would have hundreds of chapters, each of which would be like 3 to 8 pages, and all of which would be strewn in various side stories where Prue and Elliot go to various villagers and enter various side stories as to how they can make the life of those particular villagers somewhat better. Like seriously go full on soap opera season on this. This is something I would have that now thinking back on it is what I would have loved to read. Even if it's all fetch quests, I'm fine with that, because like I said, Prue works as a valuer, or before the events of the book, worked as a valuer at an auction house. She knows what makes things important, and throughout this book she displays a particular insight into the potential history of items, and her being able to delve a bit more into that and showing us how she thinks really would have helped her be more proactive and more relatable. Instead, we didn't really get that. Even if, and I don't hold Elizabeth accountable to this, because it's her story. She can do whatever she wants with it. And she doesn't have to make it 10 times bigger just for my sake. However, even within the setting she has built, I still think it had more potential to go into the actual lives of the villagers and have her more directly involved in community life. The first character Prue actually talks with within this book is a vicar, a guy whose whole job is to give spiritual guidance, i.e. advice to people. He would naturally be connected to the community, and would kind of be her gateway contact to when it comes to making friends or allies or acquaintances within this story. But somehow Elizabeth completely misses that. So for that reason, I can't really score this book any higher than its successor. So, Vintage Bookshop of Memories gets a 3 out of 5. While it is interestingly worded and has a pretty creative concept, it's overall kind of a disjointed mess. And for this reason, I can't give it more than a 3 out of 5, even ignoring the political reasons I would have for why I don't like this book. It's still too disjointed for me too disjointed and too loose, too unfocused for me to rate it any higher. And yeah, that was the review. I hope Elizabeth doesn't block me on Twitter. If you want to see my Twitter and all my other social media, the links are in the description. If you enjoyed this video, then go ahead and leave a like. If you have anything you'd like to add, the comment section is widely available to you to do whatever you like there. And if you want to see when the next video comes out, spoiler alert, it's going to be next week. But if you want to see when exactly next week, then go ahead and subscribe. Maybe also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.